Supreme Court upholds Oyetola as governor of Osun State. Presidential election petitions court continues sitting. House constitutes majority leaders. Good afternoon and welcome to Panorama on the network service of the NTA. I'm Elizabeth Omori. The Supreme Court, in a majority judgment of 5, has affirmed Gboyega Oyetola of the All Progressives Congress (APC) as the governor of Osun State. We will bring you details. Court has continued its hearing of the petition of the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Atiku Abubakar. The PDP and its candidates are challenging the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari without joining his running mate, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in the February 23rd presidential election. The petitioners have commenced tendering of documents allegedly used during the election. Already, the petitioners have tendered alleged documents concerning the conduct of the presidential election from Niger and Yobe states. The PDP and its candidate have 10 days to prove their case, as agreed by all the councils in the matter. And still on judicial matters, the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has dismissed an application by the governor of Akwa Ibom State, Emmanuel Udom, seeking indefinite adjournment of the money laundering charge brought against him and President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Paul Osoro. Viera Chimba reports that Justice Rilwan Akiawa had ordered the immediate trial of the defendants in the suits.
The Nigerian Bar Association President Paul Osoro is facing allegation of money laundering to the tune of 1.4 billion naira, alongside Akwa Ibom State Governor Emmanuel Udom and others. Governor Udom has asked the court to adjourn the case sine die, that is indefinitely, so as to allow the Lagos Division of the Court of Appeal determine the appeal he filed against the ruling of the court. He is challenging the jurisdiction of the court to entertain the charge against Osoro on the ground that his name was mentioned as one of the persons who allegedly conspired with Osoro to launder the 1.4 billion naira. He argued that by mentioning his name as a sitting governor, the charge has become invalid as he is immune from criminal prosecution as a governor. EFCC counsel argued that adjourning the trial indefinitely will amount to stay of proceedings under Section 306 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Justice Aikawa dismissed the application and ordered trial of the defendants. Meanwhile, a witness, Udom Ndogesit, had told the court how she facilitated the payment of 700 million naira into Paul Osoro's account. In Lagos, Viera Chimba, NTA News.
Meanwhile, pending political cases before the Federal High Court will be concluded before the end of October 2019 to afford all candidates the opportunity to pursue their political ambitions. Chief Judge of the Federal High Court of Nigeria, Justice Adamu Abdul Karafarati, made this known when he gave audience to the members of the International Human Rights and Anti-Corruption Society in Abuja. Omenka Amarachuku reports.
This warm handshake set the tone for the discussion between the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court and the Director General of International Human Rights and Anti-Corruption Society. This group is committed in building transparent institutions, protecting human rights, ensuring the sustainable capital development.
I am proud to share the honor of this day with the National Judicial Council for Civil Legal Rights. All these global commitments inspire international human rights long-term mission to build and strengthen national capacities and institutions which drive development progress, empowerment of civil society, and expand people's opportunities to participate in decision-making processes, particularly for those who are traditionally excluded, including women and young men and poor communities.
You will also agree with me that during his leadership, there is no cases of corruption of judges under his watch. So my advice to the judges is that, please, my lords, no judge should involve in judicial corruption.
The group is also promising to collaborate with the judiciary for the development of the judicial system in Nigeria. In Abuja, Omeka Marchuku, NTA News.
And out to legislative matters, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has assured Nigerians and operators in the oil industry that the 9th Senate will conclude works on the petroleum industry bill. He gave the assurance when he granted audience to the management of ExxonMobil. Ignatius Nkwo tells us more.
The petroleum industry bill, seen as key to the reforming of the oil industry in Nigeria, is one of the bills that has not been passed into law by the National Assembly.
Oil industry in Nigeria.
At this meeting, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, sought the support of oil companies in reforming the sector. He also advised oil companies operating in the Niger Delta to improve on their corporate social responsibility.
So we have learned our lessons from the previous experiences, and going forward, we intend to start work on the petroleum industry bill as quickly as possible. This time around, we would like to work very closely with the executive of government, those who will be implementing the bill, but we would also like to have you on board as early as possible.
Senator Lawan also met with the forum of former members of the House of Representatives, led by former Speaker Umar Galina Abba, during which he assured them of all-inclusive and stable parliament.
I feel that all of us are safe, but where there is a very unjustifiable deal, then we will always be there to ensure that the right thing is done, that justice prevails, and I can tell you that this is what the 9th Senate stands for.
The legislature, if anything, has the quality to unite this country.
The President of the Senate also granted audience to the Niger Delta Youth Forum, during which he also pledged legislative intervention in addressing challenges in the Niger Delta region. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And still on legislative matters, Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila has announced names of new House Majority Leaders for the 9th Assembly, as contained in a communique from APC House Caucus. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The announcement of the names of majority leaders was greeted with applause from House members.
Members of the House of Representatives, APC Caucus, hereby endorse the following honorable members as principal officers. Honorable Al-Hassan Ado Dogwa, House Leader. Mohammed Tahir Mangunu, Chief Whip. Honorable Inkuruka Onyejocha, the Deputy Chief Whip. And Honorable Peter Apata Singh, Deputy Leader.
By these developments, principal officers of the House of Representatives, consisting majority and minority leaders, have been fully constituted as required.
I am now receiving what I've been eyeing through the front door and in my right hand through the leverage and the intervention of my great party, the APC.
Following Wednesday's breach of House rules during plenary, the House has set up an ad hoc committee to carry out an investigation. Thursday's plenary featured the adoption of 2 motions and the need for relevant government agencies to assist victims of recent flood disaster in Lagos and Katsina states.
Over 10,000 houses across the 3 local government areas of my constituency cannot be put to use by the owners due to this flooding.
House members also called on authorities to look into emoluments of judges with a view to eliminate corrupt practices in the judiciary. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has given assent to 9 bills passed by the 8th National Assembly and declined assent to 17 other bills transmitted to his office. National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nanim reports that President Buhari's aides on National Assembly matters briefed newsmen on the economic prospects of the bills assented to.
has been withheld.
The bills assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari include Nigeria Natural Medicine Development Agency Bill, Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Defenses Bill, Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria Bill, the National Institute of Construction Technology and Management Bill.
His Excellency, Mr. President, has also assented to the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Establishment Act. This is intended to improve security, bring up the police to the status where other security agencies are in the country through appropriate funding, training of the personnel, provision of facilities and infrastructure, and above all, psyching up the police.
Others are the National Agricultural Seed Council Bill, Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund Bill, Federal Capital Territory Hospital Management Board Bill, and the FCT Primary Healthcare Board Bill.
This is intended, of course, to develop and promote and indeed make efficient the structure of healthcare delivery in the Federal Capital Territory.
The presidential aides also expressed the confidence that President Muhammadu Buhari will consider assent to other 70 rejected bills in line with legislative due process. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
The federal government is developing a template for tracking the implementation of policies, programs and projects approved by the federal and state governments. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, in a message to the Southwest Regional Meeting of Secretaries to the State Government and Permanent Secretaries of the Cabinet Affairs Offices, explained that this approach will enrich policy and decision-making process, which will translate into efficient service delivery. Michael Olale tells us more.
This convergence of secretaries to the state governments, permanent secretaries and coordinators of the Cabinet Affairs Offices at both federal and state levels are exploring strategies for articulating and coordinating developmental policies. This is one of the initiatives of the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to strengthen Cabinet Affairs Offices nationwide and discharging its responsibility of coordinating policy strategy.
It is therefore our duty to ensure that we take full advantage of this opportunity to advance good policy options for the good people of our nation.
The agenda of this meeting is not only to adopt workable framework for policy formulation, but translate such into developmental programs.
In addition, a performance management tool developed with the support of TFID will soon be implemented in the civil service.
State governments and international partners are optimistic that with the clear understanding of the principle of community of practice, budgetary constraint associated with project financing will be eliminated.
This responsibility is at the very core of governance and the yardstick with which the effectiveness of government programs and policies are measured.
The meeting is aimed at creating a platform for delivering good governance. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
This is Panorama on NTA. More reactions to the Ijegun pipeline explosion. Details when we return after the break.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Thanks for staying with us. President Muhammadu Buhari commiserates with families who lost their loved ones in an inferno in Ijegun, Lagos State on Thursday. President Buhari condoles with people and government of Lagos over the fire disaster that claimed lives and property, urging security agencies to ensure that those behind the unfortunate incident are brought to justice. The president calls on all Nigerians to avoid tampering with pipelines and sensitive installations across the country. He prays that God will accept the souls of the departed and comfort their families. In the meantime, the combined team of emergency responders have finally put out their raging fire at Ijegun, Lagos. Similarly, the list of people currently receiving treatment in 2 hospitals have been released. Paul Umukago has details.
The fire was eventually put out by officials of Lagos State Fire Service and other agencies after about 12 hours of intensive firefighting. The victims with varying degree of burns are currently receiving treatment at Lagos State University Teaching Hospital and Bagada General Hospital. Some children who were also affected are among those receiving treatment.
We rescued 12 people. 4 were taken through lawsuits. I've got in touch with the CMD of lawsuit and he assured me that they are receiving adequate treatment. Also, 8 were evacuated to Bonds unit at Bagada. However, I sympathize with the families that lost their beloved one in here. We recovered 2 bodies, and those 2 bodies were deposited at Yaba mortuary.
In the list of victims released, some members of the same family were affected. These probably could be those in some affected buses in the vicinity. The fire started at about 2 a.m. as a result of pipeline vandals siphoning fuel into tankers. In Lagos, Paulo Mukago, NTA News.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, is set to introduce the incorporated joint venture model to replace all the joint venture exploration and production projects. The Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Dr. Maikanti Baru, at the Nigeria Oil and Gas Conference disclosed that the move is part of efforts to surmount cash cow challenges and put upstream sector on a path of sustainable growth.
The significance of it, it opens a whole vista of things for us as the industry, because we came in a time when there was mutual suspicion, depressed mood, uncomfortable behaviors, and almost anything goes. And money is about the most difficult thing to go in between you and your partners.
The NNPC boss said, contrary to the ugly trend of fuel importation, the corporation has developed serious strategies to produce gas in sufficient quantity for both local and export markets. Maikanti further emphasized that the NNPC was paying more attention to gas development due to its potential to service the energy needs of Nigerians and revive moribund factories in the country. Meanwhile, operatives of the Central Naval Command Yenagoa Bayelsa State have intercepted 4 vessels loaded with products suspected to be illegally refined automation gas oil. While on patrol, 7 suspects arrested in connection have been handed over to the EFCC.
MV Messiah 1 and Barge Miracle, both belonging to Mercy Abdi Logistics and Multi-Links Limited, were accosted at Nigerian Ajib Oil Company, Naok Terminal Brass, while about to discharge products suspected to be illegally refined diesel. Barge Kome 18 and Nicholas Marine were also accosted, with 7 crew members on their way to supply the same AGO to Naok Terminal at Brass. The team, led by Flag Officer Commanding Central Naval Command Yenagoa, Rear Admiral Seidu Suleiman Garba, disclosed that the impounded vessels have an estimated 500,000 liters of automotive gas oil AGO capacity. Rear Admiral Seidu Garba reiterated that the service will continue to uphold the tenets of zero tolerance against crude oil theft, pipeline vandalism, illegal oil bunkering, and other sundry crimes in the Niger Delta region.
The product that they took could not be accounted for from any other source. Their second offense was that even after arrest, we tested the products that they carried, and we found out that those products fell below the standard requirement for AGO.
Samples of the products obtained from various vessels failed the Directorate of Petroleum Resources laboratory testing, thereby confirming that they are illegally refined. The 4 vessels were handed over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for further investigation and prosecution. Leader of the EFCC team, Principal Detective Superintendent Shehu Jibrila, warned oil criminals to desist from unwholesome activities, saying the EFCC has zero tolerance to illegal oil bunkering and oil theft.
To electoral matters now, the media coverage given to the 2019 general elections was a clear demonstration of patriotism. Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this at a stakeholders meeting with the media in reviewing the conduct of the 2019 general elections in Abuja. Mia Ogidi reports.
Pleasantries are never in short supply in gatherings like this, because the fourth estate is quite a busy one. So, all is done in arrears. Being gatekeepers, these media chiefs avert wars, calm rising tensions, set agenda for the government, all in the interest of the nation. The 2019 elections were even more tasking in the delivery of these national assignments, where perception and truth competing for supremacy with the penetration of the social media. 2,131 domestic and foreign journalists from 202 media outfits were on the field, and their experiences will enrich the idea bank of the INEC.
The media did not disappoint before, during, and after the election. We were never at any point in time found wanting.
The live coverage on television, radio, online newspapers, and live streaming on other platforms, free of charge, gratis. The Commission didn't pay for this.
Such kindness and patriotism from the fourth power rekindles the spirit of comradeship in the INEC chairman.
I want to assure you, Larry, that that spirit of making our country work for all Nigerians is still in us, and it will remain in me forever.
2 months from now, all the contributions from the stakeholders will be in a compendium for a better outing in 2023. Mie Ogidi, NTA News.
Anyway, from electoral matters, the story is often that of students being victimized in the university system. But then, what happens when a lecturer is victimized to the point of seeking redress in the court of law? This was the experience of a pioneer lecturer at the University of Agriculture, Makurdi, and has decided to put pen to paper. Kehinde Olaleye reports.
I was at the eye of the storm of these hulabalus, as God will have it, and it degenerated and degenerated until I had cause to resort to court actions.
Professor Balagade Ayola system.
Institutions of higher learning must